So there are other places you can, other workload you can implement security. But what we want to look at today is data warehouse. And in this session, I'm going to give us also an overview of what security is about, how you can also implement it in data warehouse. Okay, so this is me. I am a business intelligence analyst at the Brown Consulting, just like our guy said earlier. So, and then a couple of what I have here, yeah, over 2 years experience now, and then certification I have with Microsoft, and people have trained over 3,000 in the industry, and I also build some consulting projects for clients as well, and then looking at my leadership and also impact. So I will not bore us with that. So let's get into it. So what is security in Microsoft Fabric? So let me just ask us, when you hear the word security, what do you think we are trying to say here? Like to just maybe unmute and just can give us, okay, when you hear the word security, what do you think we are talking about? Anybody? So I know security is a general word for us. Anybody? Please let's talk. Let's talk. If you can unmute, I want the session to be interactive. Security. Anybody?
Hi,
Yeah.
Pelumi.
Okay, go on, Brahman.
Security can simply means keeping your data safe in Fabric.
Okay, keeping your data safe in Fabric. All right, thank you, Abdurrahman. One more person. Delight, you want to say something?
Yes, can I say?
Go on.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Security means being safe, being protected, and also being free from danger or risk. I didn't explain it in terms of data. I explained
Yeah,
it
no, no,
generally.
no. Yeah, sure. Thank you. And preventing yourself from danger and the like. So it's also the same thing applicable here. So security in Microsoft Fabric, oh, we are trying to secure something. We are trying to make something safe from maybe from an attack or make something, oh, we don't want people to see this. So that's just what security. And when it comes to the aspect of data as well, you are trying to protect your data from unauthorized persons to be able to see it. And we have different levels of how you can implement your security in Microsoft Fabric. And don't forget, I said we'll be looking at the Fabric data warehouse in here. So, but let's still look at generally regarding Microsoft Fabric. So there are different levels on how you can implement, or let me say phases of implementing security in Microsoft Fabric itself. So the first one is workspace. Yeah, I know. Yeah, a lot of us. Yeah, even if you are coming from Power BI background, this should not be a new thing to us. When we talk about workspace, if you've worked with Power BI service before, you should be familiar with this. So workspace role, and you know we have different levels of different roles in the workspace. We have the admin, we have the contributor, we have the member, and then we have the viewer. And this set of people or this set of roles have different things that they do. The admin is like their father, can only see everything. So maybe in a particular workspace, just in a particular project, you just want this particular person, maybe in the organization, to be able to view the reports or the data itself alone. Then you can know this is the particular role I need to give this particular person. So that's for workspace. And then we also have some mute, some is not muted. Okay, so I think I heard a noise, so I had to mute the person. So and then that's for workspace.
I already muted the question.
Okay, thank you. So workspace, that's workspace. And then item permissions. You know, inside the workspace, you are putting different items. So let me bring it down to Fabric now. So when you create a workspace, in a workspace, you can actually have your data flows, you can have your lakehouse, you can have your warehouse, and even your pipelines and the likes. So maybe you don't want to give access to the whole workspace, and then you decide, oh, I just want to give this person access to my warehouse. I want to give this person access to the lake house. That is the item permission we are talking about. And then you can now go to the granular level. Maybe, okay, I've given this person access to my warehouse, for instance, which is what we are looking at. And I want this person to be able to view my table, check the views I have in the warehouse, or restrict this person based on users. Or okay, in this particular data, I want this person to some columns should not be visible to the person. That is granular. And when we are talking about granular, we are talking about the object level, we are talking about the column level, we are talking about the row level, we are talking about the dynamic data maxing. So these are the things we'll be looking at today in this session because they relate to warehouse. You can also do them as well in your lakehouse. So now, just looking at this, what we are talking about when we talk about object level security. So these are just, okay, giving control or giving access to the different objects you have in your warehouse. And the objects you can have in your warehouse, they are like your tables, your views, your schema, and the likes. And then for column, now, so maybe in a particular table now, maybe you have 5 columns in a particular table and you want them to only see 3. You can also do that. You can do that at the column level security. And then row level security, we are familiar with. If you're coming from a Power BI background, oh, you want this person to be able to see this particular rows as it relates to them. Oh, maybe when they log in and based on their user and based on their email, oh, the person will only see the data that is related to their email, maybe specific for a region. Now maybe a regional manager for maybe Southwest region should not be able to see the data or report for maybe Northeast, for example. So that's row level security. And then we have the dynamic data maxing. So dynamic data maxing is just, okay, for example, now in a particular column you have salary. Salary can be sensitive information. So when you are sharing that data, you don't want that person to be able to see that column. Yes, you can just max it out for the person. Maybe just put 0 or XX, depending on how the column is being defined. So those are the granular level. And when we are talking about this granular level, we have some terminologies that we use to do that. Yeah, so we have the grant, we have the revoke, we have the deny. So we have the grant. Oh, I want to grant this person this particular table to this particular user. So you can use the grant. So you can see to give access. Why revoke is to remove access. And then the last one, deny, is to block that access. Okay, you give me this person access and then you want to take everything, you want to take everything. Yeah, you want to block, you don't want this person to even have access to it at all. So you can use your deny access control. And then before we look at going to Microsoft Fabric to, will I say, to demonstrate this. So I mentioned data maxing as well. So and then we have the different functions, we have the different aspect of data maxing. So if you look at here, I have 4. So we have the default one. We have the default. If for this particular column, I want to just have a default what do you call it, data maxing. And if you look at the resulting aspect, so if your column is a string, that is a text, if it's a string, that what data maxing will give you is XXX, as you can see on my screen. If your column is a number, it will just, when you do a data maxing on that particular column, it will just give it 0. You just see 00000. So your salary is a number, for instance, depending on what data type you give that column. So if it is number, it's just going to give it 000. And if it is date and time, so you will just see the default of 1900 0101. That's January 1st. So that's the default. It's going to give all the rows you have in that column. And then we have the email aspect of it. So if you use this one for email, you will see it is going to the result will be the first letter xxx at xxxx dot whatever you have left. And then you also have the random maxing. Maybe you want a particular column now that is numbers. You just, okay, maybe salary, you don't want them to see. You can also use the random numbers, that is to just assign random numbers to that particular column, that people will not be able to know the exact thing you have in that column. And then the last one is the custom. Yeah, so you just want to make some parts visible. You don't want them to see some parts, and then maybe the last part, you can also do that. So that's the dynamic data maxing different functions that we have. So moving straight to showing us all this that I've talked about. So I don't know if there are questions before I move into my fabric environment. Any questions so far? Okay, I will take that as a no. Okay, so I have two accounts that I've created. Let me see, I think a message. Okay, no message. So I have two accounts I've created. If you look at here, I have this email Oluwapelumi at 05 blah blah blah. And then I have another one. So I'll be going into Edge and Chrome. So I have one account in Edge and I also have the other one in Chrome. So if I come to Chrome here, you'll see the second account. So I named this Fabric Security. So the first one is Oluwapelumi, and then the second one is Fabric Security. So I'll just be going in between both accounts because whenever I implement a particular security, I want to show us in other aspects. So let me go to the main account, which is the Oluwapelumi own. So if I come here, I talk about workspace the other time, maybe the rules. So maybe I want to give. So I created a workspace. If you click on this workspaces, you see the list of workspaces that you have. But here I only have just one, which is Fabric Security. So if I open this Fabric Security here now, and then I want to be able to give the other person access to it, I can always do that. So what you just need to open the workspace, and then you come to manage access here. When you come to manage access, you can only see that I'm the only member here, and then I have the admin access to it. So if you want to add someone now, for instance, you can just click on add people, and then you can call the person name out. So in as much the person is under your tenant, yeah, you can always add the person. You can see Fabric Security. So if I click on this, now it's now my choice to, okay, they want to give the person an admin role, member, contributor, viewer. So all this you can always get it in Microsoft documentation. Okay, what does an admin, what access will an admin get when I give someone an admin access, or what are the things this person is going to see. So if you come to here, so this is the actual documentation for it. So you will see, you can see admin, member, contributor, and viewer. So these are the access. So everywhere you see this tick, that is for an admin now, admin can do everything. Just like you can see, if you see member now, there are some places that are empty. That is, those are the things that a member cannot do. And then you see the list one here is viewer. So you can always read the documentation for you to be able to know, oh, if I give someone a member access, these are the things this person will be able to do. So, but that's not where we are going. So that's just that. So I'm just going to go back. And then the other aspect is the item permission. So now what I want to do, I don't want to give this person access. That is the Fabric Security at blah blah blah. That's the second email address. I don't want to give the person the access to this workspace. So what we are concerned here is the warehouse. If you see in this workspace, I have two items. I have data flow, I have warehouse. And for us to for us to note, it is not all item you can give someone permission to. It is not all asset, it's not all items you can give someone permission to. I said, okay, if you don't want to give access to someone to the workspace, you can give access to some items. So it is not all items like data flow and pipeline. You can't give someone access without giving that person access to the workspace. So let's say, for example, you want to share your data flow with someone, you want to share your data pipeline with someone, you need to give the person access to the workspace. But the likes of warehouse, the likes of my lake house, I can always give someone permission to those items without giving them access to this workspace. So now let me just show us. So this is a warehouse I created in this workspace now. If I want to give this person access to it, when I just come here, I click this three dotted line, I can either come to manage permission, and then you will see those that have given permission for this particular item, or you click on this share button here. But if you come to data flow, for instance, you will not see how you can do that. because you need to give the person access to your workspace before the person can be able to see your data flow. So, but we are concerned about data warehouse now. So if I click on this dotted line and then I do manage permission, you will see now that I'm the only one that I have access to it, and then you will see the permission that I have here. So read, write, blah blah blah, and the likes. So now let's say, for example, I want to grant access to the other account. That is the Fabric security now. So I'm just going to click on add user. I click on add user here, and then you will see the different access you can always give that particular person. So you can see maybe you want them to be able to read, write using SQL and the likes. So I don't even want to give this person any access at all. So I just want the person to be able to see the warehouse without having any access. So I'm just going to click the name of the person. So that's the email address of the person. That's Fabric Security. If I select this and then I'll click on grant. So now you will see that here, the permission is for the person to be able to just read. So if I go to the other account now, I expect that the person should have access to the warehouse and not be able to see anything in the, my screen is hard to see. Okay. What about now? Is it better now? Is it better now? A bit. Okay. Let me increase it more. Okay. So I think I zoomed in already. So now if I go to the Chrome now, so now there's the Fabric security that I just granted permission to the warehouse now. So if I refresh, I will see the warehouse. Before, where when I was will I say preparing for my session, so that's why we need to always update ourselves on all these things. I was like, what is wrong? What is wrong? Because before, when you give someone access, you will see it directly under your my workspace. But I was not seeing it. I was like, what was I doing wrong? So I had to come to this one link catalog. So when you come to this one link catalog, you will see wherever you have access to. So now you can see that I have access to this security warehouse. That's what I just gave permission to. So if I click on open now, if I click on open now, so it's currently loading. So you will have access to the warehouse, but you will not be able to do anything. So you can see that I didn't even have, so if I click on, so let's see if I have any access. So you can see that when I click under the table now, there's nothing coming up. But if you come to these aspects here, if I come to my warehouse here, you will see that I have different tables under this warehouse. So you can see I have employee data, I have payroll data, I have performance data, I have training data. But when I come into the other accounts, I'm not seeing any table because I only gave this person access to the warehouse and not any item there. So that's why we'll now be going to the different aspects of the granular level I talked about, the object level, the row level, the column level, and also the data maxing aspect of it. So now first, we want to be able to give this person access to maybe a particular table or some tables. And that will be object because a table is an object in a warehouse. So now if I click on, so let me go back to my, what do we call it? To my Chrome now. So now to be able to give someone access to a particular table, for instance, I showed us the different terminology that we use. We have the grant, we have the revoke, we have the deny. So now I want to be able to give this person access. I will use the terminology grant. That is, I want this person to be able to access this. So now if I do grant select on, so now what do you want to grant access to? I want to be able to grant access to one of these tables. So let's even use this first table, for instance, which is employee data. So I'm just going to name the schema and then the table And then to who now? Who do you want to grant this access to? So now to that particular email address, which is what? Fabric security. Fabric security at 05ygj dot on microsoft.com. And then I close my code so I can execute this. So if I run this now, so you can see it is done executing. So if I go to Chrome, for instance, back, which is this person, which is this Fabric security now. So if I, so you can see it's even currently refreshing. So if I click on the drop down of the table, I should be able to see the table I just granted this person access to. So if I click on it now, I should see the different columns and other things I have in the table. So that's how you grant someone access to a particular object. And this access, for this example now, I used a table. The same thing you can also do for view. The same thing you can also do for view. So now let's say we are done with objects now, which is the other aspect, which is what do you call it? The column aspect now. So if you have any question, you can just let me know. If I'm too fast, you can just let me know. So we just talked about the aspect of the object. So I've given this person access. Okay, maybe we should do another one. So if I go back to my this main one now. So let's say I want to grant the person maybe the payroll data now. Let me give you access to the payroll data. I can just copy this person here, Ctrl C and then V here, and then I will just change this table name. So payroll data, and then I can execute this. So if I run this now, so it's done executing. So if I go to my Chrome, I should be able to see the table. So let me refresh. Okay, it's currently refreshing itself. So now I have access to the payroll data. So that's how you can grant access to the different objects you have in Microsoft's data warehouse. So now let's look at the aspect of the column level now. Let's look at the aspect of the column level. So maybe for instance, in this particular data now, which is performance data now, let's see the different columns that we have. We have the review ID, employee ID down to region. But I don't want that particular person, that Fabric security, the person with that email address. I don't want the person to be able to see all the columns in this table. Maybe I just want the person to be able to see maybe 3 columns now, for instance. So I can always grant that. And how do you do that? It's just similar to what we've done here. You know, we didn't specify the, this particular column is what I want this person to see. You just say, okay, this particular table. So the person will see all the columns you have in that table. But if you want to be specific, that's when you now specify the columns you want this person to see. So now I'm going to just copy this. So if I copy this now, and then I come here. So now I need to, okay, so I want to grant this person access to the performance data now. That's the performance table. But I want to be able to specify, okay, I want this person to see these particular columns, not all the columns in that table. So then I can specify here. So I can specify the columns. So I will just specify the columns I want the person to see. So I want the person to see employee ID. I put comma. I want the person to be able to see their performance score. I want the person to be able to see their rating and also the comments from the manager. That is, so this is the aspect you've done well, this is the aspect you've not done well. So and then I can execute this. So it still grants select on this particular table and then this particular columns to this person. So let me run that. So now it's done executing. So if I go to the other account, I should be able to see under this table, be able to see only employee employee ID, performance score, rating, and management manager comments. These are just 4 columns. And then you check the main table itself. We have how many columns? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7. So let's go to the aspect of the Chrome. So it's currently refreshing. So I should be able to see the table under my tables now. So if I click on performance data now, I just gave access to, okay, unable to preview the data. Have I not given access to it? What's going on? Let me check. Let me go back there. Where is
Pelumi,
it?
don't reload your page or just run this query. Because rendering it, we want to render all the columns. But when you run the query, you should see just those few columns.
You said what? You said what? That I need to.
When it's trying to render the table,
Yes.
it might likely want to display all the columns.
Yeah.
But you have applied column level security. So it's when you run the script that you now see the column that you have access to.
Okay. Yeah. That's true. So unable to view because if I do, let's say for example now, let's just view the data in this. So if I use to see top 10 now, if I run this, it's going to give error to this. Going to give error to this. So you can see the review saying you can't see the review ID because I didn't give access to that. It can't find the what other one can it not find? The review date and also the region. So now if I remove all these from there, so review ID is not there. I don't have review date as well and the region. So now if I run this now, I should be able to view the rest columns. So just so you can see. Thank you for pointing out that. So you can see the 4 columns that we've given access to the person. So it's just your, will I say, what you want to give access to. So if you don't want to give access to all the columns in that particular table, you can also do that. So, and then aspect, you can also revoke. So I've given this person 4 columns. I've given access to them now. Okay, view this person, give, just view, be able to view 4 columns now. So maybe I want to revoke access. Oh, I don't want the person to see the manager comment so that the person will, oh, my manager did not do well. This is what my manager said. So I want to be able to take away that column. You can also do that in your warehouse. So by using, we have been using grant. Grant is to give access. So now I want to be able to take that access away. I can use my revoke. So now if I use revoke now, so just similar to what you have. So revoke select on. So now we are still looking at the performance data. So let's say DBO dot performance data now. So now you need to specify the column that you want to revoke access. So I'm going to specify the manager comment now. I'm going to specify the manager comment, close my bracket, and who do you want to give access to? Still the same person. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm just going to copy this and then just put my semicolon. So I'm going to run this now. So run. So it's currently executing. So it's done executing now. So I can then go back to my Chrome now. So if I come to my Chrome now, if I run this, I should expect an error because I already deny the access to the manager comment. So you can see this is what is giving error on now. So if I remove the manager comment now, so I expect this query to run because this person have access to the other columns. So that's also how you can revoke access to the columns. So I don't know, let me check if there are questions. Okay, what if you want to grant access to all the items at once? So that's when, if you want to be, that's why you have to do the more advanced aspect of it. That's why you are doing the dynamic SQL everything. But if you want to give access, just this literally what we are doing, this grant access and the likes, you have to do it one after the other. Thereabouts, yeah. So now for the row level security, if I come to my employer data now, let me come to this employer data now. So I show us. Because that's where we'll be applying the row level security. So now I'm looking at the employee ID down to date join. You'll see that we have a column with a column called manager email. So and then you see the different email addresses. So we have the Fabric Security and then we have Oluwapelumi. So that is, if I share this data, this particular table now, the Fabric Security guy should only see the roles that apply to his own employee that has been appointed to him or her. So now if you look at this Fabric Security, I think we have 3 rows, 1, 2, 3. So if I apply role level security to this particular table, for instance, so when I go to Fabric Security, I should only see just 3 rows and not everything. That is when role level security comes in. So now if I go to where I'm writing the query now, so because of time, I'm just going to copy the code and then I will explain. So how you implement that, that's for your row level security. So I'm going to copy it so we can see it. So now, so these are the 2 queries that are going to use to implement your row level security. So now the first one is you creating a function. So you can see here. So you create a function called parallels underscore fabric. It can be any name. So you can always give it any name. So you just creating, just like you're creating your table. So you create a function and then you want to be able to use this manager email. So don't forget that what we want to run something on is the manager email that, okay, when this user login, just give this person the roles that applies to them. So, and then you are returning the table. Yeah. So where manager is actually manager equals to the username. So just like we are used to the aspect of how to apply it in Power BI. So it's just, if you have the idea of Power BI, you also understand this. I think in Power BI we use user principal name thereabout. So manager name, when the manager email equals to user underscore name. So that's the username of the person. And this aspect of we're talking about the email address. That's when the person log in. So the manager email in that table needs to be equals to this person here. So if it's not, if the person is not there, the person will not be able to see any row of data. And then after you are done with that, you can then create the security policy. So you have to create another security policy to be able to implement this your function for you. So now, and then be able to filter it. Okay, which particular table do you want to run this? So we are actually working on manager's email, which is the column, and which table, and which is the employee data table. Don't forget, this is the table we are working with. So if yours, the table you want to implement this is different, so you have to change the table name, and then the state should be on. That is, you want that policy to be on. So if I run this now, both of them, if I run both of them now, so now if I go to the employee data now, that's, I've granted access to this employee data table now. So if I go back to that Fabric Security now, I should be able to see only rows that is for the Fabric Security. So if I go back to it now, so now let's just say I run, so let's just see. So I do select all from the employee data, for instance. So what I expect to see here should be rows that relate to the Fabric Security. So you can see Fabric Security, Fabric Security, Fabric Security. You can see that I'm not seeing everything because of the row level security I already apply to it. So that's how you implement your row level security in that aspect. So I have a few more minutes to go so that I don't eat into the time of my boss. So now once you look at, so we've looked at object level, we've looked at column level, we've looked at row level. So once you look at the data maxing aspect, that is some part of your data you don't want this particular person to see. So if I come to employee data now, I think employee data, we have phone numbers. So if you want to max out this phone number, when the other persons are viewing this, you don't want them to see the phone number. You want them to just see maybe 0 and the likes. So it's you can do that with data maxing. Same thing, maybe email address now. I showed us different function. You can always use in your data maxing aspect. Oh, you don't want them to see the full email address of that person. You can do, okay, maybe they see only J and then XX at blah blah blah.com. So you can always do that. And then we have I showed us earlier. So let's just see how we can implement one or two of them in data warehouse. So if I come here now, so how do you implement this? Don't forget, we want to implement it on a particular table. Yeah. So, and based on our SQL knowledge, so if you want to change something in a table, you have to use the syntax alter the table. You need to alter the table and then specify the column you want it to work on. So let's say, for example, alter which table now? Which table do you want to work on? So we want to, I think payroll actually have more sensitive data. So maybe we can work with that, but you can always work with any table. So you can see it has quite a number of, let's say, sensitive data. So maybe this base salary now, you can see that my base salary area in, what do we call it? They are in string, they are in text. So, and when I said the different functions, when you have string, it's going to show as x, x, x. When it is number, it will be 0, 0, 0. So I didn't change the data type when I was bringing it to data warehouse. So, but we can still use it as an example. So if I go back to where I'm writing the query now, so alter table now. So which table do I want to alter? The payroll data now. And then which column do I want to also work on? That is, I want to alter. So let's still work on, I think we can work on the base salary now. So I don't want to show this base salary. So I just want it to be XXX since my base salary is in text. How can I do that? So I go back there. So after you alter the table, you also alter the column and then you specify the column you want to alter, which is the base salary. So now what do you want to do to this particular column? We want to be able to max it out. That is, don't forget, we are talking about data maxing. So, and how do you max it? So you now add that aspect of your data maxing, that is add max with what? What function do you want to use? So this aspect, you want to just use the default function. And I thought that if you use the default function, if that column is a text, you have XXX. If that column is a number, you have 000. If that column is a date, you have the 1900 January 1st. So I'm going to do with, open my bracket, and then function. So the function I want to use is the default one. So you can always make use of, so we'll use one or two functions before we end the session. So I want to use the function default, open my bracket, close my bracket. So close the quote and then also close the last bracket. And then I put my semicolon. So if I run this now, run. If I run this now, so if it's done executing, if I go back to the other person, that is the fabric security now, I should see my base salary should not be visible to that person. So let's just confirm if that is true. So let's do, maybe, let me just select everything and then view it, my payroll data. So I expect not to see the base salary. So it's showing here. To see that I'm not refreshing, let me look at the payroll data here. Let me look at the table itself. Okay, let me do a refresh on the page to see if it's been implemented or not. Okay, so what's going on? Let me look at tables. So I should not be seeing this person. So let me go back to my query and see what I implemented here. So alter table, alter column, defaults. Yeah, I did something right here. So what's going on? So let's see. I should not even be seeing all the data. Let me see if I run a select I think it should still be zero. Should still be the same thing since it's showing there. Let's see. I don't know why it's not. Oh wait, yeah, I granted it to this person. Just hold on. Let me go back to my hotter table, that particular table, the column, and then the period aspect. What's going on? What's going on? I shouldn't be able to, the other person should not be able to see that. Okay, maybe let me try it with email address. Let's do it with another data. So on that table, let me see, and then I'll see if something is wrong then. So I will use employee data now. Employee data, I want to be able to alter the email column. And then this aspect now, I will use email. I'll use email. So let me see. So if I run this, okay, this is done executing. So let me go there and let's see if this will work. I don't know why it's not. So if I select my employee table now, what's going on? Is it possible to grant access to user who are not part of my tenant in Microsoft Fabric? Who can help me out? I'm coming to that. What's going on? Why my data maxing is not working? This is strange. Okay, let me see again. So yeah, I'm doing the right thing. So add max with function this. So these are the aspects of when showing demos. So let me refresh the page. Because it should max that aspect out, because I even tried this even this morning, which I don't know why it's not showing. Okay, so it has decided not to show, which I don't know why. Why is not showing, which is strange. So you should be able to max this out for us, and I don't know why it's not showing. So maybe it's something I'm not doing right, but as I've checked, everything I have here is actually right. So you want to be able to alter the particular column and then max it with this. Maybe we can try it out, and I'll also check so that I don't waste much of our time. So this is how you implement it. So you can say I use the default as default function. I use the email. So if you want to use others like the partial, and also it's just also the same process, and you should be able to implement it. But for now, I don't know why it's not working. So any question? I think I've come to the end of my presentation. Any question? Okay, so Abdulrahman asked a question. Is it possible to grant access to users who are not part of my tenant in Microsoft Fabric? To the best of my knowledge, no. So the person have to have access to your tenant before you can grant them access to what you have under your tenant. So I don't know if my guys in the house can throw more light to it, but to the best of my knowledge, yeah, it's not possible for you to give access to maybe your warehouse to someone that is not under your tenant. Because if you look at when I was even granting the Fabric security, for instance, now the access now, I has to type the email and then the email came up. If the person is not under my tenant, I want to be able to see the person. So any other question? I don't know if anyone wants to throw light to that question. If it's just more answers to that question.
Okay, Fatai's hand is up. Fatai, you can go ahead.
I think that usually the way some workaround to this that I've seen is the person can be added as a guest user to the tenant, to the Microsoft tenant, and with that you get to have like the functionality of the or most of the functionality that a native user in the tenant would have. But again, you have to just be mindful of the security constraints that would have when you do that. But I've seen that if it's absolutely important, the person can be added um as a guest user. Yeah. So you said you need admin. You need Azure admin access and configuration. So you can't on your own unilaterally do that. You have to now get the permission of your either Fabric admin or maybe the Azure Global admin, and that's actually the way it should be, because a tenant is will I say sacrosanct to the company or to the owner. So you shouldn't have on or you shouldn't have like unrestricted access to share what is currently in a tenant with somebody that's outside the tenant. That is why it is configured that way. And Francis, if you have other context, maybe you can also add it.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Patai. I think that's pretty much covers it. Yeah, I don't have any other context than what you've said. But however, since we are talking about security, most organizations in practice are actually very wary of even bringing an external person into their environment. And one of the things that Fabric has given us is external data sharing. I think I made a YouTube video about that sometimes last year. So if you don't mind sharing all the columns of your table, that's another route that you can explore, so that you are not bringing a guest person into your tenant. So you maintain the context of security. Yeah, that's about it from my end. Thank you so much, Pelumi. It was such a wonderful session, and things that like that do happen. Yeah, Abdurrahman, you can go ahead, please. Yeah, if you are speaking, you are muted, Abdurrahman.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. So I have another question about sensitivity labels. I want to know if it also control access, like granting permissions to resources in Fabric, or it have a different purpose.
Oh, okay, thank you. So sensitivity labels, they are just a governance label that allows you to label your item in your organization. So you can label different items as for external use, for internal use, for client-facing use, confidential, or whatever label that you configure. But this is something that you get to do in Microsoft Purview, and then you label it accordingly. So if I create a workspace now, and then maybe a particular lake house, I'm giving it for internal use, then I know that that type of lake house is not supposed to be shared with an external person. So sensitivity labeling is just a way of implementing governance across your Fabric item or even your data item generally. However, when you configure your sensitivity label, you can configure some of the labels such that you don't even have option to share it externally if the sensitivity label for a particular item is internal. So, for example, if I have some tables in my lakehouse now, and that lakehouse has been slapped with the sensitivity label of internal use, then it controls that lakehouse in such a way that it does not give you the option to share those tables outside of the organization or outside of that lakehouse, because that label has been pre-configured to disable you from being able to share your data. So yes, it's a sort of data governance and sort of security that you can put in place. But of course, you need that level of configuration done from the Microsoft Purview. I don't know if there's any other question. And of course, this session, thankfully, Pelumi did a very wonderful job. And I know that when things are happening and somebody is doing the demo, it always seems seamless. But of course, you can also refer to some of the blog posts by our community member, that's Mbotidem. I think she has also written some very nice blog posts as well that you can go through. And of course, the documentation is always your first guide. But if you are trying to work smart, you can go through that blog post. I think she also recently dropped a video on your YouTube channel about security as well. So I'm sure that by the time we use all of these resources, we'll get more clarity about security in data warehouse. Yeah, the light, I think your hand is up. So go ahead, please.
Yeah, want to ask you a question. So, which means when you were talking about sensitivity level, that means there are some data sets that you can mark as confidential, and there are some that you can mark as public. Right?
Yes, yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so let's now go into the next session.